Hello and welcome to the show where we're bringing you the best in the visual arts, past and present, here in France and abroad. We're starting with a display of female dominance. For the first time in its 127-year history, women's artwork is centre stage at this year's Venice Biennale. Indeed, the 2 Golden Lion Awards went to female artists, Sonia Boyce in the UK Pavilion and American sculptor Simone Lee. The International Contemporary Art event's known for engaging with social, political and cultural questions, and this year's edition, entitled The Milk of Dreams, was put together in the shadow of the COVID-19 pandemic and global upheaval. Well, its curator says it's only natural that the work on show is reflective of changing times.
The Milk of Dreams features a vast majority of women artists and gender non-conforming artists. In the long history also of the Venice Biennale, the preponderance of male artists in previous edition has been astonishing in 57 editions. So I think this could be a great occasion to show that you can do an amazing show without necessarily having to feature most artists that are male.
And among the 58 countries represented at those national pavilions, Ukraine was able to send their artist and his work despite the war that's engulfed the country since the Russian invasion in February. Our correspondent Natalia Mendoza went to find out more from Ukrainian artist Pavlo Makov. She sent us this report.
The Serenissima is once again at the heart of the art world, as the major contemporary art event, the Venice Biennale, has opened. This year, one of the most anticipated artists is Pavlo Makov. He was living in Kharkiv in Ukraine when the war broke out.
I didn't want to go away from Kharkiv even at the first days, but then I saw that the center of the city is eliminated, is devastated, the whole center, So I took my mom, she's 92, and my wife, and then the 2 other ladies, and we left, because I realized that there's no sense to stay there any longer. At least for me, because I couldn't fight, for example. At least now, we are doing charity auctions, we were selling our works, and sending money to the volunteers, to the army, to the state.
This is Makov's artwork, called Fountain of Exhaustion, an installation of 78 bronze funnels. The work was taken out of Ukraine after the bombardment started.
Societies, especially here in the democratic part of the world, are really exhausted. They're not, they're not ready to protect the ideals and the principles of their life that this life was built on. And this fountain is about that.
In the gardens of the Biennale, a second space organised by the Ukrainian delegation showcases works created after the Russian invasion. The aim is to assert the cultural independence of Ukraine.
We're here representing the country, our identity and our culture, and what's happening in Ukraine is a war of 2 cultures. And Ukrainian culture is now being demolished basically by Russian missiles, but also by Russian narratives. And we're here in a way to fight those narratives.
The Russian Pavilion is not far away, but this year its doors are closed.
The Russian Pavilion is closed because the artists and the curator withdrew, and the pavilion's curator decided to leave it closed.
The Russian artists who were supposed to participate declared on social media, "There is no place for art when civilians are dying." The Biennale will be open to the public until the 27th of November.
Next, to a site that may be more than 6,000 miles away, but thanks to an evocative collection of treasures, Machu Picchu has been brought to the French capital. More than 190 pieces are currently on display at the Architecture and Heritage Museum here in Paris, many of which have never been shown outside of Peru. Well, our colleagues at France 2 and Ellen Gainsford have the details.
Nestled among the clouds at an elevation of more than 2,400 meters above sea level, Machu Picchu is a masterpiece of their ancient Inca civilization. It was rediscovered in 1911 by an American who was hiking in the area. Over 100 years later, its treasures are being unpacked in Paris. On loan from Lima, these articles from pre-Columbian Peru are going on display at the Cité de l'Architecture et du Patrimoine Museum.
We do a check of the item before it's mounted. This control will also be done when it's unmounted and repacked.
Some of the nearly 200 pieces are around 3,000 years old. It's the first time they're going on show in France. These accessories were first worn around 2,000 years ago. A headdress in gold that references a mythological hero, and a necklace of beads that represents the link between the world of the gods to the world of the dead.
The leaders would wear these symbolic outfits that showed their roles in ancient Peruvian society, which was to ensure the link between the gods and their ancestors.
On these sacred objects, the Incas engraved their stories for eternity. They also celebrate the natural splendor of Machu Picchu, which is still exceptional today and is now a protected area. Each year, Machu Picchu attracts more than 1 million visitors. But if you can't make it to the Inca Trail, then this exhibition in Paris will transport you to Peru and its ancient wonders.
Now to an exhibition that hopes to serve as a wake-up call, encouraging us humans to develop a new relationship with our planet. Reclaim the Earth is the title of a group show that's invited international artists, many of them from indigenous communities, to question the power dynamic that's brought the Earth to the brink of destruction. Our reporters went to the Palais de Tokyo to find out more.
A rallying cry to rethink our relationship with the natural world. 14 non-European artists have been invited to reclaim the Earth as they see fit, often using natural materials and elemental processes to underline the environmental crisis that we currently find ourselves in.
All these questions about nature, about ecology or politics, they're there in the subtext of my work, but they're not overwhelmingly obvious, neither in the form nor the aesthetic experience. And that's what we're aiming for as artists, trying to convey that tangible beauty through a physical and emotional experience.
Immersing visitors in the sensory aspects of our planet through touch, sound and vision. This group show also highlights a number of indigenous perspectives, like the work of Dee Harding and Sebastián Calfuqueo, a mix of cultures, origins and approaches that hopes to open up the parameters of contemporary art.
In Europe, we have this idea that nature is on one side and culture is on the other side, when it's all connected. And these artists help us think differently about this kind of connection.
That difference extends to rethinking our habits when it comes to the definition of artwork and what constitutes a gallery space. Kate Newby's work takes visitors outside and invites them to interact with her work.
Kind of monumental and anti-monumental, because if you're walking up here you don't see it, and if you're walking down here you can absolutely see it. And what I love about this space here is how many people use it for different reasons, and in fact these people are answering it. They can sit on it, they can skate on it. We'll see what happens, I'm not sure.
With installments that ask questions but also provide answers, the exhibition's a potent reminder of our symbiotic relationship with the Earth and our decisive human role when it comes to our shared ecological destiny.
Staying in Paris, a show at the Musée d'Orsay is zooming in on the singular style of Catalan architect Antoni Gaudí. Best known for the monumental Sagrada Familia, a cathedral that's become emblematic of the city of Barcelona, Gaudí had a rich imagination and a truly pioneering approach to design, something highlighted in the careful curation of this exhibition. Catherine Kidia-Clifford takes us for a look around.
Shipped from Spain, an obstacle course of boxes in all shapes and sizes, scattered around the corridors of the Musée d'Orsay. This team of experts are setting up a gate. It normally belongs to the Casa Vicens, the first house built by Antoni Gaudí in Barcelona in 1885. Decorated with palm leaves, this heavy metal gate is typical of the architect's style.
Gaudí couldn't go without nature as an inspiration. With the Casa Vicens, for example, we know that he came to a place where there was a meadow full of flowers, which immediately inspired him to create ceramic patterns.
The exhibition brings together pieces of architecture like these molds, which can be found in the nave of the Sagrada Familia, the extravagant cathedral created by Gaudí in the centre of Barcelona. From drawings to photography and sculptures, almost 500 works are brought together. That's twice the amount of pieces seen in typical painting exhibitions.
On va ouvrir la caisse 165.
Here, an original piece of furniture is being carefully unpacked. This curved dressing table was specially designed by Gaudi for the Güell Palace.
La première des choses à voir, c'est s'il n'y a aucun élément qui a pu tomber dans le fond de la caisse, voir également si l'objet dans la caisse n'a pas bougé pendant le transport.
Ce sont des caisses qui sont quasiment faites sur mesure pour
Pas quasiment, ce sont des caisses faites parfaitement sur mesure.
All the pieces of furniture were transported in the same way. They're typical of Gaudi's style, marrying originality with practicality.
Son mobilier,
His furniture can be characterized by a sort of fantasy, a freedom in the drawing. In the construction of his furniture, we can see things that are unique to him. Like there, you see the tilted feet. They're tilted at an angle, which we can find on a very large scale, in his pillars, whether it be in the Güell Park or in other structures.
Even though most of Gaudi's archives went up in flames in 1836, a rich and varied collection has been brought together at Paris's Musée d'Orsay.
Now to an exhibition that takes us back to the 8th century before the Christian era, a time of pharaohs and Egyptian dynasties. Treasures on show at the Louvre here in Paris take us back to the prosperous kingdom of the Nile Delta in what is today northern Sudan. Hieroglyphics, precious statues, tools and jewellery are all on display in this mesmerising journey into ancient Egypt. We'll leave you with a preview. Otherwise, do remember to check out our website for more arts and culture. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.